Hi, welcome to my video. I'm Jennifer Roberts and this is True Divine 4-4. So I'm just going to go into some conversation here. So it's sort of maybe tarot. Let's see what cards come out. And more so just a writing on the wall. And so I've been contemplating, I did a quick drive video the other day where I was contemplating what was happening with the police and wondering how we got here. And as always, it's the old story of them setting up a system that both serves the people and them, in that they protect the way of living. If you go back to the 60s, the Bobby on the Beat in the UK, you know, knowing the community. And like all of their systems, they morph it and infiltrate it. So we've gone in stages. Am I going to draw? Should I draw? I think I'll draw. We've gone in stages of infiltration for them to grab that. 1 second, I'll pause this. And oh no, I won't pause it. I found the pen. So they've gone into stages of infiltration. So we have been used to and become very accustomed to, particularly in the UK. I'll just get this up, to, you know, the old school view, and we emotionally connect to the old school view of the Bobby on the Beat. And so I'll just open up this sketchbook and a new sketch. Don't save. Now I can share. So how do I share again? This one. Share. So if we look at, is this a rubber or is this a pen? No. I should always set this up way before I get on here, but I don't. So okay, so we've gone from, we'll do the emotional connection, let's put easy, to the old school view of the plain old bobbies, you know, on the beat. And so a lot of, because it was a community job, a lot of our family are in here. We get to know the local bobbies. We're talking to them, you know, they're there at the same time as the milkman doing the rounds. And so you have the connection of friendship also. And there was gratitude because they did do things to keep people safe to an extent. So within the times, you know, of how things were and what was acceptable and what wasn't. So at this point, you know, they're building this system that is working out really well, gaining the trust of both the bobbies. You know, they're enjoying the honor, the valor, you know, they've got that feedback of the honor and of the gratitude both together. And so they feel elevated. So they've gotten, the system itself has gotten the trust of the bobbies on the beat. And then we've got then the people also lifting them up on a certain pedestal for good reason in some cases, in honor and gratitude. And so there's this real emotional connection then to those who are within that system as the bobbies on the beat, the police officers, to the actual system itself, because that is what has been the gateway for this and this and this and this. And so the connection is made, and you do see a lot of family generational police officers, just the same as doctors. You see a lot of generational police officers. You see that with generational nursing, generational firefighting. It's very good at building those systems that, one, protect and make them money, protect their investments. You know, you want a fire brigade if you've got a lot of buildings that you own. You know, if it's on fire, you're the first person you want as a fireman. And so we've got this, they've got this system that they know a certain character, a certain type would enter into, and it would make such strong emotional connections and such an imprint on the youngsters even, that this, and seeing that the predominant father have this imprint of what it feels like to be daddy, i.e., you know, lifted up, elevated to a certain position. So there's ego wrapped in this too. And then at that point, they've got that system built, and here they, you know, are infiltrating. Now it is a good way, another system, a good way for them, the few, to infiltrate what is the classic bobbies on the beat. And then, so once that infiltrating starts, we then see that this system has got the trust of many, and it's a slowly, slowly drip, 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 drip of how that system then works, given whatever time you're in. So at this point, what we are facing is that we have also built up this relationship. We've also built up emotional connections with this, and this. And we have those connections in our psyche. And now we see that actually the police force are seemingly not our friend. They're acting in ways that are totally draconian, totally unfair, totally unhonorable. They're not honorable. But then we've got these people who are in officers for good intent, getting in the crossfire of that. Now, it's my understanding psychically, and I've been saying it for a while in the UK in particular, there has been a changeover of officers. There has been far more almost like super soldier type, very conditioned type entering into the force, particularly over the last 3 years. And so we have those few officers that are good caught in the crossfire here. What we see now with America, and it's being pummeled over here also about the riots. And we have seen the terrible behavior now of police around the world. And then we've seen that police brutality just the same amount, in equal amounts as the yeah, to spell that out there. So this is a scales, you know, we've seen this in equal amounts. So we see that there are a barrier to our rights, because riots are very cleverly, through the spell work, through the propaganda, being connected with protest, which is a completely separate thing, which all ties into the spell work of the limiting of speech. And so we have in our mind's eye now that we are calling out for the very thing that they want us. They are absolutely, because of the way they've set up this plan along the way, doing obvious things that would cause riots, manufacturing things that would cause riots, even manufacturing shootings that would cause riots. That Maxine Waters, oh my goodness, what an absolute shill to the people. That absolutely spell words, trigger words, code words. And you'll find within these, most of the people within these, some of them are just getting what they can, but most of them are things like, believe it or not, look up the bronies. Men who love ponies, My Little Ponies to be exact. Look them up. A lot of what Maxine Waters and some of the other women I noticed, what is her name? Something Green. They are both using spell trigger words to incite things like shootings, to incite things like riots. And so they've set it up perfectly. They've got enough people in the collective sectioned off and triggered into victimhood for one reason or another. even down to the love of My Little Pony not being accepted, now being, believe it or not, a victim role, and they are very angry and very dangerous. And so we now see that they have got the very thing that they want, and that is the people, for rightful reasons, calling for no police. Now, this is where I'm stuck, because I think generation after generation, we have very few of these good officers that are getting caught in the crossfire. We've got many, but, in the great numbers, in the great schemes of things, either they're asleep under spell work and will have a good heart at heart and are absolutely just tunnel visioned, or we have even fewer good ones that are really trying and really getting caught in the crossfire. Look up the UK police officer that hasn't been heard of again, that got shot by somebody who was in custody, in cuffs, having gone through a metal detector. So the few like him that I feel very strongly are, and I won't do a reading on it because I don't have the family's permission at all. And so, but are the ones that are getting fewer and fewer. So for rightful reasons, we have the people, after seeing this and after associating them with this and taking away this, which is our right to protest, we see people themselves tipping the scales and doing this, calling for no police. 10 points for what does that do for their plan? Well, we have a huge number of people in the forces around the world. We have a huge number of officers that make up the numbers in our collective. When this plan keeps moving along, if it's not changed and stopped the way that they're trying to move it along, I'm serious. The amount of bloodshed and the amount of hate that would have been cast between this huge number of officers, and hate cast from both sides, the collective and the officers, equal exchange. Again, they're playing with those magical scales so that nothing changes, and they can change everything behind the scenes, but nothing changes for us. Again, the scales here in equal measure now. So when shit hits the fan and there aren't any of these, or there are very few of these, or there's only those of them that we wouldn't want to ever run into in a dark alley, we have a huge amount of very skilled, knowledgeable people of, fighting back, survival, protection, out of whack, out of balance with the collective. Are they even going to want to help? Are they going to be accepted? We also have a huge amount of, so now there's mistrust. So mistrust tips this scale. For good reason. On both sides. And now we have a huge number of not only vehicles that are powered up with different things, radios, etc., of cars, let's say, for quickness, but with everything that you need, bulletproof, the cage back, the radio. I don't know too much about the inside of a police car, and so the cars, the guns, and even the uniform, because although these scales are way out of whack, there is still a huge amount of people, even these people who are exchanging hate to these people, If they are in the blue uniform or the uniform that people are now used to in whatever area, there's a reason those uniforms are absolutely designed that way and often entail the color blue. And so that uniform actually stands for a lot. If when the shit starts hitting the fan, as these plans keep rolling out, if not changed, when that shit hits that fan, the uniform, or somebody who knows somebody that the uniform is absolutely in the mind's eye attached to that person, there's still a huge sleuth of people who absolutely trust that uniform and would stand beside that uniform to protect, to fight against, to be there shoulder to shoulder. So in this game they've got going on right now, and they're making sure everybody sees it, and they've been very careful to the date as to when they conclude this court case, this where the police officer, with George Floyd, they've timed it to a T to hit volcanic eruptions level between the people and the officers. And I'm not sure how we get out of this one. I am love and light, but I am here to be true, and I know that's part of my role. And there are some things that have gone too far down the line that we can get out of now with exchange, with dialogue, with coming together. They've done so well at creating a wedge. And when they come into control, it looks like an eye, when they take notice of the triangle too, that's really part of the spell work right now, the top of the pyramid. And so when we come into a place of shit hitting said fan, they've taken out with this wedge a huge strength in the collective. And like I say, they've timed it to the time, the date, to know exactly when these scales tip. And I don't know how I could talk to this side or this side to make them see in enough numbers that they're being played. The fact is, really, to get forward, and this isn't entirely, but to get forward for now, to scupper this aspect of their spell, it would take for us to be able to dance with what now has a lot of devils in it, and that there are a lot of officers who enjoy the power. Rest in peace to Sarah Everard over here. He enjoyed the power up to her, the end of her life. And so I don't see how we get out of this now. This is something that they have actually, I feel, won at this aspect of the spell, because they know they've built the stage so well, and we, in one way or another, have helped them. Decisions back in the 60s regarding our police force, maybe we all should have been a bit more like Harry. Maybe we should have been very particular in protecting our personal relationship with our personal officers, and to actually fight on their behalf for small, you know, offices along the way to be in absolute charge. So the exchange of energy could have been then equal and balanced between the people, in that, you know, there's a level of trust in the middle. So comment below what we do at this aspect of the spell that I've spelled out, because I would, you know, please, we need to work together on this. And so comment below as to whether you think I'm right or not, that we've gone too far for now. And it's not to say we're not going to be strong enough to pull it back when these are all in the same boat at some point. But comment below as to whether you think I'm right or whether you think I'm a bit off, as to whether we can pull this situation back now so that they don't get what they want, which is taking out a huge amount of power to the community ultimately, when we do have to see how much they've already won. And the officers are literally, the good officers, the decent officers, even the halfway officers are literally part of the collective, and they're having done to them what we are having done to us. That they're not a part of the group, so to speak, that they thought they were, even for those officers that aren't so great. They've done a tremendous amount of planning and a tremendous amount of work at this balance, at this scale spell, with their triangle, with their wedge holding it up, so that they decide to tip it when they like. So comment also as to how we make decisions now. What are you seeing in the energies, as well as what I'm seeing? What are you seeing in the energies, and how do you foresee us being able to either protect that actively now in foresight, or swerve that, or dissolve that, you know, with foresight, so that somehow, some way, we do generations worth of catch up to what has been a lot of spell work, and what has been a lot of complacency of the people helping them build the systems that hold their spells, to the point now where they've got their veins in the earth. They've built their roots. But on the other hand, to leave it on a more positive note, I want to say that we have, I want to say that on a positive note, how do I word this? We see now how much they're doing it in plain sight. So as a skilled network of spiritual people with different gifts, similar gifts even, but individual ways that we use them, with all of that source power, with all of that divinity and sovereignty, how do we get as organized as them? How do we continue to spot their signs and say, I know what to work against now. I know what to send right back your way now. Because we can't give up, because there is the option, there is the opportunity for us to do that. And even if it doesn't work out in this realm, I'll know when I'm on the other side that I've gained a heck of a lot of knowledge, I've gained a heck of a lot of wisdom, I've gained a heck of a lot of love and experience. And then pulled my socks up at one point and started to really push what I'd always done, but push it harder. So it even works out that way, for us not to give up, for us not to try. Because you want to live well, you want to die well. I.e., you want to die well and have dominion over where you go, which I think is a possibility. I know is a possibility. I've seen it, seen some of it, I should say. But what we do have is a way to truly understand that somehow, some way, when you are under the spell, to whatever extent I'm still working out, you end up somehow, some way, either feeding this system for a very long time energetically, or right back here. So it is so worth it to try and do your bit as an individual with your individual beautiful gifts to spot the signs and look past their illusion with foresight. That is the key word, foresight. So that's my pondering. I feel they're going to tip the scales. They're doing this to get rid of our police force. And now the collective on many counts has a reason, because they've been serving the system, to not like what officers do. They have a reason because they're seeing it. They're seeing ridiculous accidents that don't happen by accident, done at officers' hands. But are they the infiltrators, the very well-trained actors? So the world is bracing itself with you, my American brothers and sisters. Because right now, and I'm sure it's going to go in waves around the world, right now they've set your stage and the world is watching. And since this whole spell work and the way that they manipulated it, I'm not saying the whole thing was a spell, I'm saying they see these things happen and they're on the right dates with the right energies. They can just put the headlines out to make the story whatever fits, just like the Bible. So that had such an impact around the world, in that people were pulling statues down over here in the name of Floyd. For the most part, not even in the name of what you would think they would be, you know, with the message of BLM. So it will have an impact everywhere that the propaganda is pummeled to the people, that the headlines are pushed on the people. So I expect in the UK that we will also feel that wave of that spell, whatever the conclusion. Because this was a powerful wedge that holds the very, very fine balance now of officers that really we need to be dancing with right now in order to be able to enter into a relationship again, community to officer. No matter what my personal thoughts are on individual things where people get hurt on both sides, this has to be Queen of Swords, King of Swords, strategic, away from emotional freaking triggers, away from emotional cords and connections. It's really tough, and it's tough when they say checkmate. It gets really tough when you're noticing what they're doing and you say, yeah, I can hear you saying checkmate. So leave a comment. I appreciate all of your perspectives and insights. I think, and I don't care if I'm biased, the people that comment on my channel are the most insightful, wisdomful beings that I've met, that I have the pleasure to know. I appreciate you all. Much love, balance, and wholeness. Mwah.